Welcome to All Worn Out. I'm your host, Warren Meredith. On the show today, it's Lewis Hill. He's a comedian, a musician. He also works in television production, and he's a martial artist. There's so much to cover here. Let's get started with Lewis Hill. Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Worn Out. It's a podcast about music. It's a podcast about what you're passionate about. And it's a podcast about what our guest is passionate about. Today, I'm thrilled and lucky to be joined by a blast for the past for me. It's Lewis Hill. Lewis Hill is a comedian, a musician, a combat sports commentator, or was. I don't know. Are you still doing that?
Still doing it, yeah. Not as often.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it goes on, Lewis. Like, what else do you do? Oh, yeah, TV production.
I do that, yeah.
I mean, that's like your day work, right?
Yeah, graphic arts.
Okay, yeah.
As well.
Editing. You do a lot of editing, I think, too.
I do a lot of editing, and I've started into audio production as well. I've recorded, I think, 5 different comedy albums now, actually. So
you're one of the only people I know who has like near as many interests as I do.
Yeah.
Because people will always say to me like, how do you keep up with it? How do you get into chess and get into music and get into this and that? I don't know.
Life's short.
Yeah.
Life's short, baby. You got to do it. First, I want to say thank you for having me on because you're one of my personal heroes. I just want to say that because we know each other from another life.
Yeah.
Right? From the TV production world. And you started in that and you decided to pivot, at a point in your life where that's really hard to do. And you pivoted into music.
Yes.
And you destroyed it. You knocked it out of the park. You crushed it.
Sure. I mean, it took 15 years of work, but I mean...
That's the reality, right?
And I think that's just how it is. And also, I mean... Gosh, I went through a whole bunch of stuff during that time, I had denied myself like for a lifetime that I had anxiety because like I grew up with parents who had like on pills and therapists and stuff like that. So I was like very like denial of the whole thing.
Sure.
And then I hit like 19, 20 and it was like this wall of anxiety hit me that I'd been neglecting and ignoring.
And the TV production world is all anxiety, as you know.
1,000%. It was 1,000%. And I've spoken to people as well since then who were like, "Oh, you dove right into contract work," and I was like, "Yeah," and they're like, "You're crazy." And I've talked to people who are like, still they won't do that type of job where what we were doing, which was like jumping from show to show.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. I worked on 7, 8 TV shows before I stopped, and I worked on a bunch of other things, and it gave me these really cool perspectives on like producers and like especially like at Canadian Idol. It was like hilarious, like getting to see the 16 producers run by the one. And like, so he showed up late, okay, like 45 minutes late in Kitchener, and then they were like, "Dude, like you're late." The unit managers were like, "You're late," and we're like, "We're behind schedule." And then he just looked at them and he was like, "Do you have my double mocha latte?"
Oh, dude, yeah.
From Starbucks. And they were like, "No, we don't, but we have a second cup." And he said, "That's not good enough. I gave you an extra half hour today to get me Starbucks. Get a PA in the car and get me my Starbucks. Now we're an hour late because of you."
But this prepared you for the entertainment industry as a whole because, dude, this is part of the reason I can't stand it. You can be a nice person and be good at your job. It's okay, you jackass. But I want to ask you something before we get into it. Is your band okay? Are you guys okay?
Well, you know what? It's going to be okay. I'm coming back with the band in October.
Okay.
You're the first person to have the balls, the cojones, to ask me on the air.
When the lead singer starts a podcast, that's a red flag, okay? That's like when your mom gets a real estate license. That means your parents are getting a divorce.
Fair enough. Know what I'm saying? Fair enough. And, we're not done. What happened is we had a 10-date tour planned that took us a very long time to plan in the UK. And it was supposed to happen in September. And then the funding fell through. And that kind of just threw off a lot of things, and it threw off some mojos.
That's tough.
Then some band members kind of needed some time to deal with personal issues this summer.
Yeah.
And I told them, I said, "You're ruining my life." I said,
"Where's my mocha latte?"
Yeah, exactly. Where is my mocha latte? I need it right now. And so I was just like, honestly, though, I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And, I've always joked I'm going to do a podcast. So you're absolutely right. I was just like, I was canceling events left, right, and center. I had to cancel Canadian Music Week.
Right.
Cancel appearances at Voodoo Rock. Various things.
These are good problems to have, Warren. I just want to say that. I know it sucks to cancel, but you get to cancel those. You were scheduled. Whatever.
It really annoyed me and hurt me. And so I'm coming back in October, and hopefully everyone in the band's coming back.
Okay.
That's the plan. That's my hope.
Hey, listen, viewers, if you haven't seen his band, I got to see you guys at Blues Fest finally, because I was scheduled to see you guys, and then I don't know if anyone reads the news, but 2020 happened.
Oh, yeah.
And then, 8 million things, because you guys were playing the Brass Monkey a lot, and that's kind of my hood. This isn't far from my neighborhood. I think I played a party here one time in a band. Like not in this house, obviously. You would have been there, but somewhere in this neighborhood. But so I saw you guys at Blues Fest, and you guys, I love your band, but seeing a band live that crushes it like you guys do live, it's something really special. And everyone in your band is awesome at what they do. There's no weak link, and you guys were driving up there having such a good time, and it was so contagious. It was so cool. I was so excited for you and proud of you guys, and I'm so glad I finally got to see you. And man, that bass player, I'm telling you.
He likes to party, eh? He likes to dance. He's fantastic.
All you guys, everything was contagious. And when you guys hit the ones that the crowd knew, like, Down with the Devil and stuff, you could just, it was the coolest. It was, that's why I say you're one of my heroes, buddy.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah.
I give the guys full credit because I'm just up there singing, dancing around, having fun. And as long as I don't get lost, I'm all good. But, I mean, they prepared so much for that show.
Yeah.
Because the intros and the transitions between the songs and the outros into the intros and all that stuff was just sick. And I was so proud of them. They made an extension for Crazy that we kept, and people were like, that's so cool, it should be in the original. And I'm like, yeah, but it never would have happened. This came from us rehashing what we had that was really good. And going at it. It doesn't just come out that way.
Yeah.
So it was a fantastic experience, and I give full credit to the guys. And yes, we're gonna come back. If anybody is not coming back with us, we'll talk about it, and it will be. But I can tell you this: it's not drama. It's not a fight within the band.
Was I allowed to talk about this?
Sure.
I was only kind of making a half joke, but I do know when someone starts. I have a podcast. When you start a podcast,
anything can happen. It doesn't bother me to talk about it because, like I said, it really derailed my summer.
Right.
But I loved my bandmates, and I've talked about it before with other people off camera, and that is before in the old days I had a band called the Ginger Fox Band. Oh, and when this is the beginning, folks. And so when one of my bandmates, who was a teacher at Algonquin, and he was teaching sound recording, so he was a pretty good asset to have in the band, folks.
That's a good
he's a good asset, and he's a great guy. But one day he was I have to cancel these shows in Toronto, blah 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 blah. And I reacted poorly. And I was like, this is fucking dumb. This is not happening. I can't handle this. And, the band was over. And that was it. And 7 years went down the drain. And instead, this time, I decided that's not how I'm going to react. Instead, I'm going to say, I'm supporting you. We're taking the summer off. In October, I'm coming back. Please come back with me. Otherwise, I'm coming with the bulldozer. I'm coming through. Because I just missed it so much.
You've pivoted again. You've learned, and you've mature enough to pivot and do something different, Warren. This is brilliant. Hey, I know you're supposed to be interviewing me here, but you know me. I can't shut up. Did you always know you could sing like that?
No. God, no.
Was this a Chris Cornell, accidental discovery kind of thing?
Kind of. My mom sang in competitions growing up, and my mom, never left the house. Like I said, anxiety and agoraphobia and all this stuff. But she would get out to do these music competitions. She would sing Patsy Cline.
I love Patsy.
And it was
Patsy Cline's one of my biggest influences, by the way.
Really?
Legitimately.
You go out walking after midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some Patsy Cline covers if you know where to look.
Okay, well, I mean, my mom was people would say she was a clone vocally. They'd just be she could do that old style. So
she's technical. Patsy Cline's tough. Yeah.
Yeah. And so at the same time as that, I was doing music and I was grading really high in ear scores for piano and that, but I wasn't singing and I didn't think I could sing. And instead, I was doing stand-up comedy at the age of 12, 13. And I had a traveling routine that I took around fair to fair, and I was selling a male brassiere before Seinfeld's episode came out.
The bro.
The bro came
the
out
man's ear, yes.
about 7 months after my idea came out. So I think we kind of simultaneously came up with the concept.
Parallel thinking in comedy is a legitimate thing. It happens all the time. And you got to decide who gets to keep it. And if it's Seinfeld and you, it's not you.
Yeah, I lost it, folks. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun until I crashed and burned at like a bigger competition. And I realized like, oh, failing at comedy really sucks. And that was when I was like maybe 14 or something. And that kind of like pushed me back that way. And I went, oh, maybe not. I won't be ready for a while. And I'm still in that boat, Lewis. So you are a comedian.
Yes.
And how long ago did you start doing the comedy?
Okay, it was the night after Ronda Rousey got knocked out by Holly Holm, which I believe was 9 years ago come November. Or maybe 10 years ago come November.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a weird memory.
No, isn't it weird how fights do this? My band always goes back to the night that McGregor's leg snapped. When he stepped backwards, we were in the hotel room after the gig, and we were like, yeah. And all of a sudden we looked up and it was like, snap. And we're like, we'll never forget that. It just it brings you right back. So keep going.
But yeah, I started that. I just went. My little brother was doing it, and I went to see him. He didn't want anyone to see him for a long time. He was nervous and all this. But when we finally went to see him, he was really good, which I was confident he would be. But I said, you know what? I think I could be really good at this too. So I asked him. I said, hey, is it cool if I tread on your scene a bit? Because a big brother treading on a little brother's scene, it's not always great. And he was like, no, have at it. And I did a Sunday at Pub 101. I don't think there was any audience. It was all comedians in the audience. I don't really remember how it went because I just kind of recited my act, but they liked me. And the producer at the time, who's now a comedian, Daniel Araya, he just wouldn't even ask me. He would just book me every consecutive Sunday after that. So I just kept showing up. And then, you get, it's practice. You get better. It's a lot like combat sports comedy is because you learn everything the hard way and it rips your heart out when things go wrong. And it's usually in a very public fashion and it's humiliated.
Yes, it's humiliating.
I remember in a jiu-jitsu tournament I went in and there was no one at my level at my weight class. So they asked me if I would go up or go down. Okay. So I said, I will go up. I will go to the advanced because I don't want to go down. And I got my butt kicked for lack of better terms, and I ended up in somebody else's highlight reel. Do you know what I mean? So I would see that on Facebook getting posted myself, just getting destroyed in someone else's highlight reel. And that taught me, I think I relate that a lot to comedy when you bomb. It's just this humiliating experience that gets relived by other people again and again. Yeah. And you never stop bombing. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be, hard shows or difficult audience members or whatever. But the better you are, the more you can adapt and not bomb as much.
Music is like that too.
Yes,
live
it is.
Performances. I just got a lot better at faking things and getting through mistakes without people noticing too much, or picking that ball back up and keep going. And I think it's the more you're on your script probably for comedy, the easier that is. Like the more.
Oh, I'm more of a chaos guy. I like it.
Really?
I like now. I didn't used to be, but now I like when things go off the rails and I can pivot because I'm really good at crowd work and I'm really good at adapting.
Okay.
And it's I like to surf in that chaotic moment where anything can happen, and music's that way too. But you're right. You don't acknowledge your mistakes. No. A wrong note's just it's on the way to the right note. Yeah. That's all it is.
Yeah. Unless you're Bon Jovi right now and it just keeps going wrong.
Or Katy Perry.
Yeah, anyway. Man. It's so many of them right now. Practice makes perfect, folks, and when you don't do it, it makes a difference.
I performed with Logan Brown and his band. He was doing a gig, but Logan actually wrote one of my guitar solos for me. So he asked if I would come with his band and record. And I had a monitor issue where the monitor wasn't working, and I know I was a little bit flat. But I'm the only one. But I'm the only one who knew. Okay. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those. I came off after I know, and everyone's like, "Are you crazy? Nobody heard it."
Sound great.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things.
I saw actually on the combat sports thing, you had a video of John Charles Skarbowski. And he's the madman who did the Muay Thai and fought the best of the best. Yeah. And folks, you should, if you're into combat sports and you don't know who we're talking about, he did the Tough, the UFC show.
That's right.
And George St. Pierre brought him in, and he was hammered, but he beat the shit out of everybody. And did you get to train with him?
I did, for an extensive period of time. When I was training at N1 Thai Boxing, he would come over and spend weeks because he's from France. And he would come over and he would just, some people put on seminars when they come over to make money, and he would do that. But for the rest of the 2 weeks, he would just teach the normal classes. So you're getting Skarbowski, and that guy is funny. But yes, he very strategically takes you out for lunch before he does the clinch. And he puts some beers into you and himself, and then when he comes back, it's a mess. So the last time I trained with him, I was a little I got a little fuzzy in the head because I had a little accident, a left hook we call it.
Oh no!
And so I shot and edited the video of him just kicking the shit out of everyone at N1, and I wrote a song on the piano called "It's Springtime, So Let's Get Drunk." And it's just this happy little C major thing,
yes.
and everyone's just getting their asses whooped.
Yeah, it's great. I really enjoyed it. I love how he trains. He just throws people around. He doesn't give a crap.
He's so strong.
Yeah, he looks like it.
But he's got a belly, and he doesn't.
But I noticed every time somebody tried to use their strength, anytime someone tried to be strong arm him, he was just like and threw them away. You know?
Well, you're in this weird zone where you respect him so much. You want to do well and you want him to appreciate you, but if you go too hard, he hasn't even opened up the second gear yet.
No.
If he opens up second gear, you're in big trouble. And you'll see that at the seminars, people who want to spar him and they'll go hard, and then it's not good. It's not good.
He shuts them down probably.
Yeah, it's painfully.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Yeah, John Jones is training with him right now, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, oh man. Well, yeah, as if John Jones needs any help
I know.
It's like, what a scary
they're
guy.
probably drinking a lot.
Like, how many people could just walk in and out of anything? Like, not let alone combat sports, but to be able to walk out years later, walk back in, and do what you did, maybe better.
Yeah.
It's just a phenomenal achievement and something you don't see very often.
And if you look back at his party days, there was fights he didn't really train for. You know what I mean? So anyway, he's a special athlete.
So back in the day, a long time ago, folks, many moons ago, I graduated from a program called Algonquin College. Lewis, you also graduated from this program too, right?
I did. As did Tom Green.
Thank you.
John Doerr.
Norm McDonald did not. He was kicked out for harassment, and I was told at school that that's because he believed harass was 2 words. Randy Dash told me that.
I know Randy. Yeah. Was he the one who was in your band who was the mixer? No.
No.
Okay.
No, that was Kevin Komaransky. Kevin is a teacher there still, I think, and he does really cool stuff. But yeah, I was rude and whatnot,
Well, Randy could play guitar too, right?
Randy was doing stuff back then for the Senators games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was one of my funny teachers, but I don't know. Randy knew a bunch of stuff, right? He knew a lot about editing, and really, he knew how to keep it cool and not lose his mind. Because most people don't get what they're doing in his class necessarily. It's
correct.
And so, but he didn't lose his cool about it. He was just sort of you'll get it bit by bit. And then these other people are pros and they're running ahead of you, and there's nothing you can do about it, really.
It's an interesting program because you get a lot of people who have some sort of level of fame who have graduated from that program. Not too many of them working in TV. Do you know what I mean? It's the TV broadcast program, but that's a whole industry that, you did mention it's my day job. I don't do it much anymore, to be honest with you. I've started I hit a point after the pandemic where I started getting paid really well for comedy, and especially for road shows. So, August is whatever, I kind of take that off, but I'm kind of leaning into that a little more and going, I can make this much money in this amount of time as opposed to this amount of time.
That's huge.
And no one's breaking down my back, and you know what I mean? Right now I'm considered a working comic. I'm poor, but I'm a working comic.
Okay, you know what? You'll get used to it, man. The thing is I'm a poor musician.
Yeah.
But crazy things can happen when you dedicate yourself. I mean, I started getting SoCan deposits in my bank account, folks, and not very.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Not very big ones though.
No.
$40 was maybe my biggest. But you know what happened? Because of the regular deposits, the bank respected me when I apply for things and I say I'm a musician.
That's the difference.
They can't really argue with me because I do get it. It's not enough to live on at all. It's enough for a cheeseburger. But it's cool. You make little advancements and it gets you further.
Well, even the first time I got paid for music, Like,
yeah.
the $4 or whatever I took from my Spotify account or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh my God, this is something special. Like,
Oh, yeah.
who gets to do this? And the amount doesn't matter. Look, I want the millions. Of course I want the millions. Everyone does. But, there's a difference, I find, especially in the music portion of what I do, of people, because everyone's a musician. Very few people release music. Do you know what I mean? Everybody writes, everybody says they're going to, but to take that step and let something go, because it's never finished. The songs are never finished, but you have to let them go. And when you do that, you join a special group of people, I think, who can do that and have the let go of their ego enough to say, hey, now I'm going to start putting this out to the world, work on new stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. Without vulnerability, you're not an artist. And, and once you accept that vulnerability and you allow yourself to get cut and thrown down and criticized.
The comments, baby. Ugh.
Dude, when I did, like, the Sens game, like, the comments were harsh, brother.
No way.
Yeah, not nice. But you know what? And I was fine with how I performed. I wasn't upset with it. I was like, I could have used some reverb. It really would have helped.
Sure.
And like certain things like that. But I was like, whatever. Like, I did what I did, and I'm proud of myself because I took 3 original songs that no one ever heard really before.
Yeah.
And took them to 10,000 people. And so, like, in that space, it was worth it. It's worth the criticism when you get an opportunity to say, here you go. I tried so hard, and if it's not good, please tell me. And that's the only way I've gotten any better at all.
Well, the price of admission is a view or a click, and then say whatever you want. As far as I'm concerned, now we have a saying in comedy that because there's levels, like just in music, there's levels, but there's a certain level in comedy where you have to be good enough to do terrible shows, because most of the road shows are going to be terrible. They're going to be drunk idiots. The rooms aren't going to be ideal. The laughter won't carry in the room. There's probably a music still playing in the background somewhere, but you have to be good enough to do that. So I think with music, it's kind of the same, because it's like the Spinal Tap. You're playing an aircraft hangar or something like this.
They are very, very similar.
Yeah.
I don't know for certain, but like, you're a solo comedian, so I think maybe you can make money better in that situation, but maybe I'm wrong. Like, I'm in the band scenario, I'm always trying to get enough payment so I can pay each band member.
Right.
And that's increasingly harder because the more we invest and the more we achieve and whatnot, and then that will cancel us out of gigs that we want to play, which is very frustrating. But that's part of the growth of the music business, and like, you have to kind of accept it and allow other people to come in the undergrowth. And it's
the music business portion of it for me is the toughest part, and that's why if I had to choose between music and comedy, I would choose music every time. But I don't like the music business, because it kind of taints it for me a little bit. You know what I mean? I just want to do my own thing, record, and I have this unhealthy obsession where I need to do everything. I need to play every instrument. I need to sing every harmony. I need to mix it. And in a world, I didn't know how to mix in 2020. I just figured I'd try it. In a world where everything is presented with perfection, be it on Instagram or auto-tune or everything else, with mixing and recording myself, there's a real freedom in just, I can suck. I don't care. I will get better. And I listen to my old mixes. I'm like, oh, I've gotten better. This is, and I'm not perfect yet, but I love doing it.
It's one of my points here, actually, is that your newest song sounds very good. Like, I was very impressed with it. Like, your newest track, I was like, if you compare it, and this was actually my point I was going to make, you compare it back, it's like, wow, you've gotten better each time. And like, your Christmas stuff, I don't know if you know this, but I think
it's my best mix.
I think it might have given you growth. Like
100%.
The freedom of doing it and like having fun and pure joy I took from those videos.
You hit it right on the head, buddy.
I think 100%. It probably gave you some growth. And like, mixing is not easy, folks. It takes a lot of work.
And it's never done.
That's the biggest, hardest thing about producing your own album, period. Is like, as a band, the argument is always like, when are we done? And that's why I'm thrilled that I work with a producer now, because I don't want to make that decision. It's so brutal. But the Christmas stuff, like you said, there's less pressure on me. So I experiment a little more with stuff that I'm not sure how to do. And I'm like, oh,
And so I learned something every time. But yeah, me and my little brother were talking about this because he's releasing a rock album very soon, actually.
Cool.
And he mentioned, I just said, yeah, my Christmas stuff is my favorite mixes, which is the irony is killing me. But hey, I'm in the middle, Warren, right now of doing 4 songs. We'll see if I get 2 done and release 2. I still don't know if I want to release an EP, an album, or singles. But I'm in that zone. I don't know what you're like when you're recording, but it's Heart of Darkness. It's complete insanity. There's no sleep because you wake up thinking like, oh, what if I put a fill there?
So
do you know what I mean?
What we've done is we've compressed it into sort of like so like what we'll do is we'll write all the songs up. That's stage 1. Then you take those songs, you send them to the producer. He makes his notes. He sends them back to us. Then we take those notes and we make improvements or changes based on what we got from that. And then we have another meeting like online about like a pre-prod meeting. And then when we get there, we have a pre-prod day. And it'll be about 7-8 days. We did the last album about 7-8 days. Okay. And just in like a run, just in a marathon. And so we ate, slept, bread, like everything. Everything was just music in that experience.
I think I need that constraint.
It's beautiful
on me.
It's fantastic.
Because the other thing too is like, with technology now, like what amp am I going to choose? Because the Sims are so good now. I could choose any one I want, but I missed the day where I had the one and I had no choice.
People still compliment our first album though, and they'll compliment the guitar tones. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, that's because they're 78 high watts. Those are the same amps they used to do Zeppelin 2.
That's it.
Like, there's no, like, the stuff we used for the first album is like Zeppelin 2's kit, That's
like awesome.
Yeah. And like the 27-inch kick drum.
Yeah.
And all these things, these little things that you just like geek out about. But
totally.
You can hear it too, though, folks, and that's why you really geek out about it. And like when I sing into like the $5,000 Neumann or the $10,000 Neumann or whatever it is, it's like, whoa, it's so amazing through the Neve, it's so smooth, and it makes me go wow. And then he blew my mind when he's like, and then people use Melodyne, and I'm like, don't you put that shit near my face. Because I'm on tune, man. I sing on key, man. And he's like, no. He's like, everybody gets a little Melodyne. He's like, I'll find somewhere. He's like, if you're off a dime, I'll fix it.
Well, I did have one person mix one song just to try it. And that's what he said. He goes, I Melodyne naturally. Which I'm like, oh, what does that mean? He goes, no one will notice. It's not going to sound like, electronic music, but yeah.
It's like when you pluck that string and it's saying it's in tune and it's fluctuating like this back and forth. And it's like, it's going off by, the producer might say, it's going off by a dime or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, they can bring that. They can fix that and bring it right back to true. And it's freaky. And the more they fix it, the more they hear it. So if you're like way out and they try and fix it, you'll really hear it. So
you ever seen the video where they do the Freddie Mercury? They put his waveform in the auto tune, and he's off. Yeah. Like that's the reality. Yeah. But he moves and stuff. And there's something. If
Neil
it's too
Young,
perfect, it's not good.
Right. Neil Young refuses any of this. So like there are artists who are like purists, and like Neil Young is like, I take my band in. We do live off the floor, which is the hardest way to record, folks. You go live off the floor, and we just record until we're done. So we just start the song, and we go, and then we go, and then we go, and then we go, and then we're like, I think take...
you smash the guitar.
And then they don't do any editing, like nothing. They'll just burn themselves out and pick one of those tracks. So I'm like, must be very freeing. You have to be very good to do that. Like, when we were in the studio the last time, my bassist, the session drummer, and my lead guitarist did live off the floor, and it like blew my mind. Like I was not ready to go in there with them yet. Like I was still making lyrics go finite, but they were in the room live off the floor, and I was just like, this is beautiful. It's so beautiful. Don't mess up. Don't mess up.
Oh, and it's incredible. Here's the thing. I come from a post-production background in film and TV. So I've always had this thing. I can fix anything or do anything. I just need time. And it's been really hard to turn that off with music. Because it's like, no. Do a good take, you lazy jackass, Lewis. Do a good take.
You know what I mean? It is the biggest thing.
And then when that red light comes on, all of a sudden I'm missing 12 fingers and I can't play and I don't know what's happening. And,
Yeah.
And it takes a day to get that out of my system too. But I'm sure that's something everybody...
oh, yeah. And I mean, well, you have to keep that standard. I mean, Joe's solo in The Flood was nuts. And it took us a while to get it perfect through, like, in the way we wanted it.
Yeah.
You know, and it'd be like, I think that's the take. That's the one. And then be like, no, it's still just, the ending's not there. Isn't
it the worst when you play it and you think it's a take, or you sing it and you think it's a take, and then you listen back, you're like, what? Where did I miss there?
Yeah,
what happened?
It happens a lot, and that's common for me. I mean, I'm a kind of a 6 to 8 take singer, and then if it's going beyond that, we're in a bit of trouble. We kind of need to dig in. I mean, I have had one song where I think I had like 60 takes on something, and it was like, making me go bonkers. But I mean, most of the time, 6 to 8, and on a song where I'm blowing through it, it's like 4 takes, and I'm doing 2 more just for bonus, just to give some options. You know what I mean?
Do you guys double? Do you guys double the voice?
There's like multiple microphones sometimes for me.
I see. Okay, cool.
I don't know what Ross does. He does a lot of crazy stuff, and but that's the benefit of having him. Like, he teaches or has taught at like all the best places in Toronto to learn how to record, and like the place that Triumph owns, and Metal Studios, I think it's called, something, Metalworks.
Kidding.
Yeah, he taught at Metalworks and a whole bunch of places.
Wow.
One of the reasons we went with him is because, like, he studied under some engineers who did work on Zeppelin and did work on...
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And, like, he's friends with some pretty cool people and worked with some pretty cool people in that regard.
Yeah.
So, like, I was able to stop worrying completely about that. And, like, when we got our mixes back from the first album and we sent them out, like, and the radio stations gave us the reply I wanted finally, and, like, certain comments that I'd taken before as criticism, they just weren't there. You know, like, everything about the mix that I wanted to be there was now being recognized.
Did you feel like the first time you were working with these people that you admired, did you feel like little imposter syndrome? Like,
always.
What am I doing here kind of thing?
Always. I always feel imposter syndrome, especially once you're in the vocal booth, you have to get through that. I think maybe that's the same as like getting on stage. Or,
all eyes on you at this point.
Yeah, once you go in there and you're in the batter's box, I mean, that's it. You either do it or you don't. And as a vocalist in a rock band or any band, you're 50% of the song. No, I don't mean that in a cocky way. I mean
that's
in a way,
legit.
I mean that in a way it's like vocals. People are listening to pop-based songs or pop written theory songs. They're listening to those vocals, and if they aren't connecting with them, no matter how good that music is, they're normally clicking it. They're turning it off. So you can kind of ruin it for your band, right? You can totally ruin it. And I've had a bandmate tell me that before. When we released...
Said that you ruined it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. They're not in the band anymore. But yeah, they did. And so, I mean, I've gotten the harshest of criticisms.
I just tell that to myself because I'm a solo artist. I'm like, you idiot!
We get it from the producer. We'll get told before we put it down that we're screwing up. You know what I mean?
I guess he has to, though, right? Time is money, and you're looking for the best product. Mm-hmm. And
I love it.
Kid gloves off.
I love it.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah, that's why I love it. The 7, 8, 9 day thing where we're just like in this marathon team rush award thing where I don't know what it is. We're just trying to win.
Do you ever have camera crew come and follow you during this time?
Only
have you had
like
that yet?
One time we did, and like then we got like nothing back from it. So he was a guy in college or university.
Sure, yeah.
Through the producer, he was like just asking if he could come in, but we never got anything back.
Because those are my favorite documentaries of all time.
They would be funny. Yeah. Like one time we had a member get like drunk and like falling on the floor of one of the recording room studios, and I won't out who they were, but they're falling on the floor.
Was it you?
I wish it was. I wish I was this cool guys. And the producer is just like, is such and such sleeping in the studio? And I'm like, just a minute. I think they had too many vodka cranberries.
Well, you just outed them. Whoever drinks the vodka cranberry.
Yeah,
well done, though. I respect.
Oh, yeah. We had some moments, but not too much rock and roll moments in our bands because there's no room for it. You get labeled as idiots, and that's it. People don't want to work with you.
Well, comedy is very similar in that, you can reach a certain level by partying and being part of the scene and all that. But if you want to go anywhere beyond that, you got to pull up your socks and get to work. So, yeah, same thing. But it is fun when you're in that scene for partying. When we book shows, we're touring. We'll book 3 shows. One of them's kind of we're playing at a snack bar or something. So that one will be the fun one. But just let it loose and do whatever. But yeah,
sometimes you show up places and it's a little different than what you thought it was going to be.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little different than you bargained, and then you're just like, I'm gonna roll with it. We're just rolling with the punches here, folks.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like a long time ago, I was in Algonquin's program. I graduated, but I'll tell you, folks, I wasn't very good in the program. I was maybe mid-tier, and that's being honest. And that's because technically, in the technical side of things, I really wasn't great. I kind of went in there and I wanted to do on-camera stuff. I wanted to figure out how to use the camera and how to do certain things. But I quickly found out when I got there, I was in way over my head in certain aspects. And there was people there that had been volunteering at Rogers TV for a number of years, and they just already knew everything. They already knew everything that I was being told. And so it was kind of weird. Like, there was parts of my class that were just oodles ahead of me. And after the first year, because the first year was tumultuous for me, and I almost didn't make it through, but I did. And in the second year, I sort of had this big growth spurt where I took on producing and doing all this different stuff, and I got better at it. And then I graduated, and as soon as I graduated, I had this internship right beforehand with a company here in Ottawa. And I was in a relationship with a young lady, and I thought I was going to marry her, and I thought this was going to be a big thing for me and a big step. So I went all in, and I tried really hard at this internship. And what I did is like all the other guys who were with me, they were hanging out with the producer, Matt West, the director, Matt West. Great
I know
guy.
Matt still to this day.
Right?
Yeah.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Fantastic. And so everyone wanted to hang out with him from the program, and I got it, and I could understand why. He was funny, and he was showing them how he does it, and it's so much fun, and it's awesome.
He's a true creative, 100%.
But I knew that wasn't where the job was. And so I went straight to the dish pit, and I started making coffee for people. And I started picking up wires, and I started poking around things. And you know what? I ended up getting noticed for that, just because I was trying to do things people didn't want to do. So they offered me a job. They said, "You want to come on and be a grip?" I said, "No." I'll be honest with you.
That's the right answer, by the way.
I'll tell you, folks. I said no. If you want to know, gripping is like lighting. It's setting up lights for TV.
Yeah, it's a lot of rigging, a lot of stands, a lot of getting your fingers crushed. And...
Everyone who did it was much bigger than me. That's all I'll say. I was the smallest grip I ever encountered, ever. In any capacity. So, besides maybe Roland, I think his name was.
Yeah, Roland Marquardt, yep.
Roland was awesome.
Also a musician, by the way.
He wasn't like a big, strong guy. And so I kind of looked up to him in that regard. But, gosh, folks, I really tried hard. I really dug in, and I really tried hard. But I was going through all these panic attacks already that I was not anticipating.
What was this the show where I was your crew leader? Was this the one? Me and Bobby?
Well, yeah. Well, Bobby was with me, and you were with me.
Yeah.
When you weren't with me, Paulie was with me.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Paulie's got the best radio voice of all time, and
rest in peace, Paulie. Actually.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, I didn't want to.
Oh, I know. I forgot. Actually.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, sorry, Paulie. Yeah. But yeah, he had the best voice, and
Absolutely.
he was super kind to me.
Yeah.
As were you, and this was going to be my point. Is like, thank you for being so nice to me and so kind to me during that time, because I really needed it, and I appreciate it. And like Zach was my other mentor, my guru.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully Zach sees this. He's still on my Facebook.
Yeah, mine too.
And so Zach's good stuff, and he like smoked me on my first joint, but I told him no.
Uh-oh.
Okay, listen, I'd been through college. I was 21, folks, and I hadn't smoked anything. But this TV world had destroyed me.
Yes.
And I was sitting in the cube van, not on a chair. Not on a chair. You open the little middle window thing. I was sitting in that. And they were in, and Andrew, the makeup artist, was in the passenger seat.
Oh, I love Andrew too.
Amazing guy. And Zach's in the driver's seat, and they're passing the joint back and forth and back and forth. And it's like a movie scene, folks. It was like a movie scene where it's just like the sweat's pouring down my face, and it's been a 14-hour day.
Oh yeah, those days were very long.
Brutal.
And we didn't make overtime because that company is
fucking brutal.
They're terrible. Anyway.
Yeah, I've been told that by a lot of people since I left. So it's not just me.
I think the cat's out of the bag on a lot of the
Yeah.
illegal shit that was happening. Anyway.
Well, I helped with that. So we're going to get into that. So it was great. And I fought hard to be a part of this and really work through it. One day we're doing a road grill. Were you on road grill?
No, I had some other gig and I can't remember what it was.
So we're on the food show anyways. I'm on this food show and it's hot and we're in Orleans and the big hill that goes down there, Jean d'Arc or whatever, there's a big hill.
And I wasn't on this, but I heard the horror stories as someone who worked in the industry from Road Grill. Apparently it was just terrible.
It was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. Ever done. I've never, like, out of all the jobs I've done, that was one of the most difficult I've ever done. And I wasn't a grip. I was a PA.
Okay.
So, like, I had stepped down. I did not want to grip folks. I was like, I'm going to PA. And still, it was one of the hardest things I ever did. And so it was a long day in the sun. And they were doing this, like, box cart, go-kart down the hill thing with the scouts or whatever. And I'm running back and forth. And I've got this cube van. And it's near the end of the day. I've got heat stroke. But I'm in denial. I take this van out. And I pass where I'm supposed to turn. So I turn into this parking lot, and the parking lot is the Taekwondo place there, folks. And as I turn in, the corner of the cube van catches the awning, and it rips it slowly, like a movie.
Yeah.
And everything just came out. The lights, everything, the insulation, everything just came flying down out, like a huge explosion.
You must have been dying.
I was
terrified.
shitting my pants. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then, like, I'm like, I get out, and this, like, Chinese guy, or I don't know, sorry, an Asian guy came out and must own the
Korean
place.
if it's Taekwondo, by the way.
Yeah, sorry, excuse my ignorance. And they came out and they started yelling at me. And I was scared, because they were clearly a black belt, or something of that variety.
Sure.
So I just ran. And the people up on the top hill, because we're looking down, were yelling at me, going, he's running away, but I really wasn't. I was just going up the hill to, like, tell the people, get my bosses, because, like, I'm not equipped to deal with this.
Holy shit, dude.
So I went and got Matt Whitehead, and
Whitey.
I went and got
Whitey.
Whitey and Val, and brought them over, and I told them on the way to the scene of the crime, I said, you will have to fire me, and it's okay. I said...
I mean, that to me, I would just want to be fired.
I said, listen, I'm okay with it. I don't know how this happened. I don't really... Like, I'm lightheaded. I think I have heat stroke, but I don't want to get into that. And I don't want to make a complaint. So, so they went there and they were telling me, no, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. As soon as they saw it, Whitey was like, you're fucked. Like,
that's a good Whitey impression.
Oh,
actually.
yeah, he was so calm about everything and, like, so supportive. And as soon as he saw it, he was like, that's bad. That's real bad. And then, so, in comes the producer with her car, and she has the host of the show, and he's Matt Dunnigan. So he's on TSN doing the football on Wednesdays, okay? So he brought me into his club, into his drinking club already. And so I can't remember what we're called, Water Buffaloes or something like that.
Awesome.
You're holding the bottle. He says you're holding the bottle in your main hand. He catches you. You have to drink it all.
There's rules. Without rules, there's chaos.
It's an old Edmonton Eskimos, Elks now, but old team thing that they had when he was the quarterback there. So I got initiated into this club, and so they come into the parking lot, and they're looking like, holy shit, like we're in trouble. I'm going to tell you why. I was 22. Maybe 21. I wasn't supposed to be driving that van.
And if you don't have experience driving a cube van,
you aren't allowed to be insured until you're 25.
Ooh.
So they were way out of bounds, not only with me, but with about 7 or 8 other cube van drivers.
Yeah.
And so
insurance costs money.
Yeah. And they were trying to get around it.
Yeah.
And this kind of brought that out a little bit.
I love this. So did you get fired?
No. I didn't. I went on to work on like 2 or 3 more shows with them still.
This is fucking great.
Yeah, I did not get fired. They couldn't touch me. They even like brought me into the office one time, and I thought I was gonna get fired, but I got like all dressed up to the nines, and they put me in Stacy Keach's office because she was gone for the day.
Right.
And so I went in there, and they were like, gave me a list of things to do, and I think they were actually trying to see if I could be useful in the office. But like the task they gave me was like stupid. It was like, can you get people to come out to this barbecue show event in like all these people to come out, and I'm like, get real. Like
we don't want to pay extras either. Can you bring your friends?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
You should have drove your car into the office.
So during that time, Lewis, you were one of the cool people.
Thank you.
You're one of the cool people. I think you did Dig In with me.
I believe that was it. Yeah.
Okay, so the gardening show, we're
That's
doing
it.
a gardening show in November in Ottawa.
Yeah,
You remember
yeah.
that when we were trying to finish up and we were like,
All-
it's the leaves are falling, but we're gardening, folks.
All the plants are dying. They're not. They're tilting over in the soil. And like, just get the shot. Somebody hold it up with string.
So
Yeah.
my favorite story from that is that the producer sent me out to go buy sunflowers because at one of these lots, the sunflowers did not grow.
Shocking.
And so I was going to go to Loblaws and we're going to like fake plant the sunflowers
Yeah.
you know? Well, I stopped along the side of the highway because I saw these like 12, 13 foot sunflowers at the end of this person's laneway. So I went in and I went up to the door and I said, hey, like I got like $100. If I give it to you, can I take like 6 or 7 of those beauties? And they came out and helped me dig them up. And I took them back and the producer was like, how did you do this? How did you get 12-foot sunflowers? They have the roots. They're perfect. And I'm like,
Oh my
I'm a
God.
G. I just know what I'm doing. And it was like one of those rare moments I actually knocked it out of the park, you know. But
Oh my God! There's so much to unpack there. That the fact that they didn't know where to get the sunflowers in the first place, where you had to go and because if he said no, you would have had to steal those.
I was going to, yes. But I wasn't going to say that, but yes.
Oh damn, dude! Yeah, Canadian TV. You know, they're doing it on a budget, and it's not glamorous. If you think it's glamorous, it's not. It's a lot of lifting heavy things, long hours. And
Do I look like I'm good at that? Do I, folks? I was horrible.
but you were new and you were learning. You had a work ethic.
What was funny is the guy who replaced me on the first day, everything fell down in the truck. And then I was really looked at. I was really in shit.
Wait, was that Mark?
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I still love that guy too. He's
I
an
love
awesome
Mark
guy
too.
too.
Mark's
But
the
the
best.
first day, right? The ratchet straps, and so everything collapsed. And so Bobby looks at me. And he's just like, asshole. Because he's blaming me, right? Not Mark for this mishap. And he's right. It is because like Mark's overwhelmed and it's not fair. He wasn't
It's
trained
not
yet.
fair, and
it wasn't fair at all yet.
And we all made dumb mistakes. I dropped a stand as I was carrying stands up to the thing onto the back of the truck, and Bobby got out of the truck, stepped on it, flipped, smacked his head on the back. So hey, even I made idiot moves, and I was trained. So
It
you
was
know, you're hot,
nerve-wracking.
you're dehydrated. It's a long day. You got people telling you you're not making overtime. It's whatever.
Going around like, well, that's the thing is like I wouldn't have even like I didn't even ask about it, but you know the road grill crew that was working at the same time as we were on Dig In or whatever, they were arguing and almost striking.
Yes.
Like the groups almost went on strike.
Rightfully so.
Right? And then we were like, wow, what's going on? And so this is one of the reasons I didn't get fired along the way, because there was people who were like, F you, I'm leaving on my own volition. And I was still like, I'd like to keep putting myself through hell here.
Well, I got called almost every day. Hey, are you available for Road Grill? And I'm like, no, I don't know. I got stuff going on. No,
Road
thank
Grill
you.
had real road grills. So this was why part of the main problems with this show was it had heavy metal grills that you would find on the side of the road that keeps cars from going off. We had a truck full of those. And then we had about 150 rubber mats that interlocked for the floor.
Yeah.
So we would interlock the mats and put the road grill thing around. That took a lot of time and effort. And then set up the barbecues.
Yes.
Then and all the food stuff. Then the mats would get covered in crap. Like disgustingly covered in food byproduct.
Yeah.
And who would have to deal with that?
Well, that's the other
That's
thing.
the
yeah.
PA's job, you know?
Well, I worked on home and garden shows where I'd be like, okay, let's get the shot of building the deck. Okay, cut. We can build a big portion of the deck now. And everyone just looked at me and I'm like, what? Now I'm building the deck as well between scenes? Like,
What?
pay people, you jackasses. You wonder why I don't work in the industry anymore. Anyway.
Because it's crazy, right? It is.
I work for myself in the industry, and I work for people I like, and whatever, blah blah. I still do everything myself. So when I do, if I need a video, I shoot my own videos. I make my own posters. I do my own album covers. I'm gonna record my own comedy album. So there, yeah.
Folks, we're gonna put all the links below, and you better support Lewis. I'm
Thank you.
serious.
Thank you.
Like you have shows coming up on the 14th and the 15th, I believe, right? You've got Amberman, Cornwall, or not Cornwall.
Lancaster.
That's it.
Lancaster.
South Glengarry.
Yeah.
Um,
Which I perform there a lot. They love me there. I'm good friend Dan Allaire's from that area. And like August is kind of tough for comedy. I take a lot of time off just to do family stuff and travel and stuff like that. But coming back hard in September, I'll have a bunch of Yuck Yucks dates to announce and stuff like that. So follow me on the Instagram for sure.
like in Ottawa, Yuck Yuck dates.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I have to come.
I host a lot of those shows and with a lot of the big names or middle. I get a lot of hosting gigs because I'm good at talking to people like cold and getting them going and stuff like that. So
You're great at it. And
Thanks,
so when you do the combat sports thing, like that's part of it, right? And I saw you for the Comedy Fest like years ago. You guys were going around doing interviews.
That's right.
And it was very Conan O'Brien-esque to me, like
Yes.
the way that they would do like the insult dog, but much friendlier, not mean. Like you guys had the off the cuff jokes.
Yeah.
And that cool feel, but but you weren't mean.
But when I get dark or mean, I do it nicely. It's this weird talent that I didn't realize I had until I started doing crowd work. But yeah, I can go really dark and off the rails, but I'll do it with a smile on my face, and you'll still like me at the end of it for some reason that we haven't figured out yet. But yeah, come to Yuck Yucks. Come see me, Yuck Yucks. I consider that my home club, Yuck Yucks, Ottawa, Biagio's. So come there. I'm always there. Jeez.
So when was the first time you picked up an instrument or a guitar?
Besides a guitar, my uncle, one day he asked my grandmother, "Does Lewis like bass guitar?" And I said, "Yeah." I told her, and so the next time she came up, she had this bass guitar for me, and it was his old one. He was in a punk band called Vic and the Meat Kings, and he would play bass and sing, and he gave me this harmony. It was this harmony bass, like very cheap. The neck was bowed. You could hunt deer with this goddamn thing, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was but he's just said, learn how to play this. And I'm like, okay. So I'm just, what is this? I'm like, oh, frets. You put your finger here, this works. So I taught myself how to play bass, and then I got a cheap acoustic guitar and taught myself how to play that. And then I was lucky enough to go to a high school in Sault Ste. Marie that at the time, I'm a little older, but they had I think it was like the second best music program in North America or something,
Cool.
technological wise. So we had such wonderful teachers that I'm still in contact with today, as a matter of fact.
Awesome.
And so I got to learn how to play trombone. I took the guitar classes there. I took the music theory classes, piano, everything.
All in your high school there.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Honestly, such a wonderful music program there.
It's
yeah.
still like that?
Yeah, and at the time, like this was like 92, 93, we had a recording studio. You know what I mean? That was unheard of. And we used to do this. The guitar class would release a cassette every year called the Cora Acoustics.
So this was Sault Ste. Marie?
Yeah.
You're born and raised there?
Nah, born in Moose Factory. There's a million jokes I got for that one, but we won't. You got to pay to see it. And then Timmins, and then Sault Ste. Marie, and then Geraldton for a bit. Went and stayed with my dad in South Africa for a bit, and settled in Ottawa. Yeah.
South Africa. I mean, that's a podcast all on its own.
Yeah.
That's a whole story all to itself.
He was in aircraft maintenance, so he was over there working on South African Express, and that got me a free ticket over there.
Hell yeah.
So I graduated high school, went to my prom, stayed up all night drinking, and then hopped on a plane. And here's the thing, Warren. Here's how dumb I was at 19 years old. I'm like, oh, can't be that long to get there. So I had to fly to Toronto, then to New York. From New York, I was going to fly to Johannesburg. And I got in the plane, and I'm like, oh, so talking to the person next to me, how long till we're there, you think? And they're like, 14 hours. And I was like, what? I thought it was like 2 or 3, you know? And I was like,
wow.
I'm in this seat for 14 hours?
Dang
you know how
it.
hungover I am?
Oh, man.
I mean, I was an idiot. I still kind of am, but that's okay.
Wow, well, that's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
that would terrify me. 14 hours, that's way
Yeah.
too long.
Yeah.
So one of the songs you have up on your Spotify, Till We Meet Again, is that the name of the song or is that the chorus?
That's the chorus. It's In Your Debt.
That's the name of the song, correct?
Well, it's funny. You asked me what my first musical instrument was.
Mm-hmm.
It was that bass, and that's kind of what that song is about.
Mm-hmm.
In my family, we pass on instruments, and we celebrate life and death with music. We're always jamming. We're always switching instruments. And that uncle who gave me that bass passed away in 2022, I believe. Very young, at 54.
Wow.
But
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, thanks. It kind of inspired me, and then my grandfather passed away, and my grandfather built me a violin, My grandfather was never a musician. At 80, he retired. He's like, I'm going to become a musician. So he built himself a violin and taught himself how to play it.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's that song is about that, the passing down of instruments and celebrating the life and death and the fact that, and it's how, you mourn and how, Jesus, I hope I see you guys
Is it your
again
best
tonight.
song?
It's probably the one I'm most proud of. Yeah.
You're most vulnerable in it, and that's
100%.
That's
Yeah.
why you're
Yeah.
getting more connections to it, I think.
Yeah.
Although Disassociation, I also really enjoyed.
I love that song.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think you're on the right trail. But like,
Thanks, buddy.
that song, I was like, oh, okay, and I got like some interesting influences off of it right away. Like I could totally get the Foo Fighters from it, but
Yes.
also I felt the nostalgic Cheers factor. So I don't know if it's the notes you're using or the chromatic progression, but part of it gives it a very nice nostalgic throwback feel, which is what you're going for.
Yeah.
And you achieve it in the music. You achieve it in like the musicality. So
Thanks.
like, yeah. It's not easy to do. Like,
that one was kind of that one started. I said, okay, enough of obsessing about these songs. I'm gonna write something simple and do it in 2 days and get it out. And of course, 6 months later, I'm still working on the damn thing because it evolved into something else. But yeah, that song was such a rocker, and it was inspired by Against Me, actually. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I love Against Me so
Yeah,
much.
great band.
And I love Laura Jane Grace so
Hell
much.
yeah.
One of the greatest live acts you'll ever see. And one of the best rhythm guitar players, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So they have a song called Rapid Decompression, which is kind of simple, and I kind of wanted to do something like that. But again, my lyrics are always really dark, and I try, I'm a happy guy, but I like going dark in the lyrics. And it's funny that you said I'm on the right track, because the new ones, I definitely get very vulnerable. And there's 2 ones in particular that I'm going to try and probably release first. I'm hoping by the end of September. I'm excited to have you hear them, actually, because I like that.
I'd love to.
And Logan Brown, I needed a solo on Disassociation, and I'm okay. Like
it's very good.
I'm back taking guitar lessons again, because you can always get
better.
Get better, and I've never been great at solos, but Logan called me one night after Yuck Yucks, and he said, I need you to record my music comedy album. And I said, cool. He goes, what do you charge? I said, I'll tell you what, buddy, I got 1:10 of space that needs a guitar solo, which is a long time for a guitar solo.
That's a long solo.
And he knocked it out of the park. Do you know Logan, by the way?
I don't think so. I don't know if our paths have crossed, but
brilliant
I'll reach
musician.
out. Maybe he'd like to come on the podcast.
He should. He's moving back to Kingston at the end of September, I think. So get him quick. But
cool.
You mention any name in rock and roll, he's got a story about jamming with him. He's something special.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so
I won't
cool.
spoil anything, but he's my favorite guitar player for sure.
Oh, amazing.
And I know my favorite guitar player, which is a really cool thing to. I messaged you about this when he was. I can't remember either when he was recording it or whatever, or maybe it was after I saw you at Blues Fest, but you talked about that, the relationship you have with your guitar players and how important that is.
Well, for me, it's everything.
And they have to be the best in your mind, or else it's simply not going to happen.
When it comes to rock music, it's if you're trying to compete, and this is with anything. This is like you do running, or you still do running.
I do. I'm more injured than I've ever been, and I'm trying.
Do the combat sports.
Yeah.
Like, you get competition, and music can be a thing where it's just fun. But if you're trying to compete, then you enter a genre, and then once you enter that genre, you suddenly see this ranking that appears out of nowhere. And it's all these incredible musicians who have built the genre. And so you start going, wow, how do I fit in Southern rock? How am I going to go up against the Allman Brothers? How am I going to go up against these legends who built this and made this so good, and then make it memorable? So as a vocalist, I knew I'd work my voice to the point of some kind of memorability. Whether people remember me for being loud and obnoxious, or for being a bull in a china shop, it doesn't matter to me. You're gonna remember me vocally, and that's part of my plan. and I need this.
Success.
Same thing you need with a guitar player.
Yeah.
It's no different. He needs a signature. It needs to cut through, and no one needs to sound like him. It needs to be their own thing. Just like my voice, it had to be as much my own thing. And before I went to the producer, I sang all genres all the time. I sang like Elvis. I sang like all my heroes. And then I went to the producer, and they were like, "No, stop trying to sing like Our Lady Peace. Stop trying to sing stop trying to sing alternative rock. That's not your voice. Tonality wise, your voice is fitting here. Listen, try it and do it, and I'll prove it right." And
that's...
it's why I advocate going to a producer who has a developed ear, because it is their specialty.
That's it.
And when they have picked genres that they're a specialty in, it's even better. If you meet a producer and they're like, "Oh yeah, I produce all genres. I produce everything you can think of."
Sure.
Get away from them.
Yeah.
Run for the hills.
Yeah.
That's an engineer. Bob Rock doesn't do anything but rock and roll. That's all he does. Yeah. Well, that's not true. He did Jan Arden, but I think that was kind of a favor to kind of help.
It's in the same sort of vein, though.
Yeah.
Bit,
But he's known for the rock. You know what I mean? And he made his legendary name that way.
Motley Crue, man.
Yeah, exactly. Metallica. Like everybody. My
Tragically Hip.
Yeah, my friends are recorded with them, The Damn Truth. So and they did that at the warehouse, Bryan Adams' warehouse out in Vancouver. Awesome. So he has like everything in this place you can imagine, like every piece of gear they say that ever gets made that's worth anything just gets ordered and sent straight to the warehouse. So it's like,
where's your dream recording spot, Warren?
Oh gosh, I think Muscle Shoals.
Okay.
Or somewhere in Nashville. Would be my preference.
Awesome.
Because of the level of session people there that would be there to help me if I needed them, and the experience from the producers there. Some of them are insane. Like, they're so good that they don't know how to use Pro Tools. They don't know how to use anything because they recorded stuff from like the 60s and the 70s.
They're on tape.
So they have these little guys who are like geniuses who are clicking and doing all the Pro Tools stuff. And they're standing over their shoulder going, no, listen, bring it up. Oh, and like, being like a maestro. Yeah. And it's like that next level. And you're like, oh, who is this guy? And they're like, he recorded Pretty Woman with Roy Orbison.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay. Because there's some songs you find out about, you're just like blown. Your mind is blown.
I love that old style recording too. And I love... like Motown and the Supremes, where you get that tape hiss and the high end. You could tell they got the gain cranked on that mic because you're getting this crispy. I love that. And it's funny now because they make the plugins that try and emulate that. And they'll have a humanizer where you can turn on the human element. It's like, what are we doing here?
We still build drum tunnels. Like, when we're in the studio, we're very hands-on. There's just a lot of trying to make everything sound the way we want it to sound without touching anything on the board, without touching anything at all. We're trying to make it sound amazing just by turning the mics on.
That's the idea, right? Of a great mix.
Yeah.
Get it right at the source.
If it's amazing, then you can add things and it just gets better.
Yeah. I think Studio 606 for me would be the dream. Dave Grohl's garage studio with the Neve board and all that. That would be my dream. And
for me, it's the person, like who for the biggest thing, like working with Bob Rock, that'd be a dream come true.
Yeah.
Like, okay, like it's a dream come true factor. It wouldn't even, I'll never ever be able to afford that, and that's okay. I've come to terms with that.
You never know.
Yeah, maybe I'll get really lucky and hit the lottery one day.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you never know when something's going to take off. And there's I was not sorry to interrupt you, but there was a story my friend Rory was telling me as I was recording my album in 2020. He said, release it. He goes, I don't care if it's done. Release it, because you put stuff out there, it puts you in a position to get more things. And you guys have put a lot of stuff out there that is still, and Rory Gardner's a good example of that, because he had some, songs that he was trying to make hits, but then he had a commercial buy one. And, he got a lot of money from it, and it set him up to do other things, stuff like that.
It's really funny how it works. And,
but you're in a position,
the
more stuff you put out there, and all the great stuff you guys got out there right now, it's still being played. It's being played right now somewhere. You know what I'm saying? It's reaching new ears and reaching new, And it will with this podcast too. It'll reach new ears. So how about that?
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. I mean, Spotify is fun for us. I mean, we have invested in enough campaigns that now we have a fan base. So there is like 1,000 people that will cycle through every day.
That's awesome.
And so it's really cool to get statistics and see like, oh, this music is actually very popular in Mexico. This music is like very, like our music, rock music, I'm going to tell you right now, it's very popular in South America.
South America.
And like the plays we get, like that's where we're getting love. We also get some love from like Los Angeles, New York, because we focus on those cities, but also like Germany. Germany will be like the really good European country we'll get some love from.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but otherwise it's like Brazil, Mexico, Puerto Rico.
But it is neat now with this whole, because everything's changed. I know you guys have a record company and producers and all that, but when I'm pitching something, when a song is done, the only thing people care about now is how many followers you got on Insta. And it drives me nuts, dude. Who cares? Listen to the song. Who gives a shit?
Well, I don't buy into that stuff either. I mean, you'll see that I haven't, bought the blue check mark for my band or for me because I think it's absolute horse manure.
Silly.
That people are paying $20 a month to have a blue check mark.
Can you imagine Tom York going, did I just write the song of 2024 on TikTok and dancing in his kitchen?
No.
Or ruining people's day on a subway by playing your song? Go to hell.
Yeah. I'm not in that either, but
I respect that a lot because it doesn't have to be that way.
I like to promote, and hype is important. It's so important for a band and for a comedian, I think, too. Like, getting the hype going is so important because it's like that trail going ahead of you that lets everybody know you're coming. And it makes sure that someone's at the damn show, folks.
Yes.
And that's so important that there's somebody there to give some love back.
But I like the idea of the way you guys did it. You played live. You changed me. Like, I liked your band, but when I saw you guys live, I'm like, holy shit. Do you know what I mean? And that's that's hype. That's not a TikTok, and that's not a whatever.
I went through a long time. So you asked when I started singing. I probably after that TV thing. So after TV, I started smoking a lot of weed, because I told you Zach smoking my first joint. So boom, my transition went from like nerdy little Warren into pothead Warren.
Yeah.
And what happened was I started emotionally playing guitar and singing, and it just started coming out of me. And then I got into harder drugs and other things, and I started saying, no, you're going to be the Ginger Fox. I said this in a night of madness. And I said, you're going to be the Ginger Fox, and that's it. And I was for like 7 years, and it got me further and further and further to where I wanted to be. 2015, I met my producer through Indie Week. And I was scouted out there. Like, there was someone there who scouted me, and I got an email the next day. We went and met them, and then my band broke up. And then years later, I went back to that producer with Taming Sorry.
Yeah.
And it worked, and everything was the way I wanted it to be.
This is your story. This is how you built it, those steps. I remember when you were doing that online. You were playing guitar and putting it on Facebook and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Slow Tom.
Oh, yeah.
Who gave you a shot to play live, I believe. Am I wrong?
Monday nights at Zaphod's.
Yeah.
Slow Tom was a legend, is a legend. Yeah. Everyone should know him.
Everyone knows Slow Tom.
Like, he did everybody's Monday nights and recorded for me and always made sure I got a CD. And he would always try and do a good mix and talk to my folks who would always be out there.
Who does that? That's the coolest thing ever.
Like, he was so kind and very nice for a sound man. And, like, listen, sound men are normally just horribly brutish people because their job is shitty. And so I love good sound men. Sound men make or break me on a good night when it's packed and it's sold out. If a venue's got like 400, 500 people in it, like the sound man's going to make or break me because the sound is not bouncing off in an open room. And these people are going to leave if it's not good. And they're going to, and once one ant leaves, another ant follows and out goes the trail. So sound men are so key.
Damn. Anyway, yeah.
So Lewis, you do the combat sports.
Yeah.
You are a comedian.
I am.
You are a musician.
I am.
You still race when healthy.
When healthy. I'm doing the Army run coming up. We'll see how that goes.
You have an incredible guitar collection.
Yeah, it's not bad, eh? Yeah. Getting better.
Are you still hosting Capital Combat Parlay?
Not as much. I'm just doing the commentary for certain combat shows. Like, just it got too much, especially when my partner left. My Capital Combat Parlay partner wanted to go do other things. It got too much for me to do all the equipment and stuff. And it was one night in Southern Ontario when the crowd actually trampled my gear. I lost my shit and I said, I'm never doing this by myself again. And I scared. It was a bunch of fighters, and they saw my mad face, and they ran. But
I've seen it only a couple times, and it was scary.
But
no, I think it was like rain and stuff, and we were dying in the rain when I saw your face like that the last time. But
I have now, when I do the commentary for the shows that book me, they have someone set up to do everything, because I would do all the levels myself and everything. Now I go in, I sit down, and I go, and I'm like, oh, this is nice, and I get paid now, so.
That was like hockey play-by-play for me. When I did it for the Ottawa GGs,
That's
it was like I sat down and I had Kevin Burton doing the camera work.
I know Kevin, yeah.
An amazing guy, right?
Yep.
And it's so cool. And so he'd be doing the camera and I'd be doing, and I wouldn't have to worry about anything. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Then the Kempville 73s tried to hire me on to work there. I went, they had nobody. They just expected me to do everything. They didn't have a booth set up. They had nothing. I was like, look, it's too much. I'm used to just sitting down and memorizing all the names and numbers.
You can't, it's one of those things where doing multiple things doesn't work. I have to watch the fight and report in real time what's happening for the viewers. And if I'm adjusting a level, I miss something. You know, it just doesn't work.
It doesn't work at all. It doesn't work at all. Thank you so much for coming on, Lewis. I have like 2 more little questions for you. Okay. No Mercy, the movie. You are a fisherman. Is this your only major movie appearance? I mean, what was No Mercy? What is No Mercy?
No Mercy is a horror film that
with a G, folks. No Mercy.
It's about a garden gnome that comes to life and hacks up a bunch of people. It's this B movie that my friend Mark White did, and he asked me if I'd play the fisherman. And I went there, and I just kind of freelanced it and said some stuff, and tried to make it funny. And during the premiere, I got a standing ovation. Everybody loved the fisherman. Just one of those things, you know. If you're gonna do something, give it all you got. I've been in other TV shows. I've done a bit of acting, not as much. It's something I'm actually looking, especially with comedy. Maybe I'll start looking for that again.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think so. I think some acting credits are coming up in the Lewis career portfolio.
Let's do it.
And the last question I have for you is like, so like 4 years ago, you did this post on YouTube where you're doing a Red Dead Redemption video.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just wanted to know, like, are you a pro at Red Dead Redemption 2? Like, did you ever get really good at that game? Or like,
I got good at it. I love the story mode. It's one of the best stories ever told. And that was, it's funny, that company that we worked for together became something else. And they let me go I cost too much money and they were really cutting. And they, instead of letting me know that they were going to do it, they just kind of did it out of the blue and it bothered me. So I'm like, I got laid off. So I started playing Red Dead and I made this video. Because whenever something negative happens to me, I need to get creative. You know what I mean? Like, bounce back and do something. So I did that. And a lot of people said you need to do this for a living, but I'm like, I don't know. It was fun, but I'd rather make music and tell jokes. But hey, check out that Red Dead video. It's kind of funny.
It is kind of cool, man. And like it like made me think about like all the things I'm going through in my head. Like I'm very bad at video games. So like if I ever do a video game channel, it'll just be me getting killed.
Well, that's what when I play with my nephews now, I don't have the hand-eye that I used to, and it's just frustrating.
I'm not very good.
Yeah, that's why I bring my nephews to Muay Thai so I can straighten them out after.
Yeah. So thank you so much to Lewis Hill. Check out Lewis Hill. There's so much to check out. Go to his Spotify. I'll put the links below. Go to a comedy show and see him live. Hire him for your video production, whatever it might be.
You need some posters? I'm really good at graphic arts.
Get into it. Yeah. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
And thank you at home. And we'll see you next time on All Worn Out. Bye-bye, everybody. Boop, boop,
that was awesome, man.
Thank you for
You're a good interviewer.
You're